everyone to Live at Lunchtime on this cold day. You look like a superhero with that blanket on.
Do you like this? This is our new style.
I love it. I love it. It's keeping you warm.
Absolutely.
Welcome,
really
everyone.
do much for the horses, but it kind of keeps me a little bit warmer.
Perfect.
So
That's what we need
instead
right
of carrying it around, I put it on.
Well, I'm Alex.
I'm Michelle.
And Kristen is behind the camera today. And today is all about blanketing 101, keeping our equines warm here at the sanctuary.
That's
so
right.
One of the many ways. I mean,
Yes.
their hair grows, but some of them need a little bit extra warmth.
That's right. Now, we've talked before, but we'll mention it again for those that may not have seen. How do you decide who gets a blanket?
Exactly.
Not every horse needs a blanket. Obviously, when they're in the wild, they don't have blankets on. They grow their coats, and their coats keep them warm. It's just the way they're made. It's fantastic and amazingly wonderful. But sometimes horses do need coats, and how do you decide who gets one? Like we always say, know your horse.
Yes.
It depends on the horse. Usually seniors and younger horses need blankets, but if they're outside all the time, obviously they need shelter, but sometimes a blanket can help give them a little extra warmth from the elements. But you can't just use any blanket. There are certain types of blankets. There are so many different varieties of blankets and brands of blankets. And, all blankets are different, and some are coolers, and some are sheets. And how do you know the difference, and what do you need to buy?
There's so
We're
much.
going to walk you through.
Yes.
Don't worry, we've got you covered. So
the biggest thing really, as you mentioned, is kind of the first question you want to answer when it comes to blanketing your horse, or some of our donkeys also do, is who gets a blanket. Now, we have about 80 residents here at the sanctuary, and not all of them get blankets. In fact, only a fraction of them do, because they need that. Again, during the winter time, equines, their coats are growing. They're going to look a little bit fluffier. They're going to have that thicker hair, and that's what keeps them warm. You can kind of see, if we get a little close up here of Tyler, he's just a little bit fluffier now, right? Along the neck, you can really see that hair has been growing in. But as Michelle mentioned, there are cases where some horses need it. It can be horses that are a little bit thinner. We call them hard keepers. It's a little bit difficult for them to put on weight, so they may not have that extra layer that they need in the wintertime. They need something to keep them a little bit warmer. Horses that are older, that can also play into why maybe weight management can be a little bit more difficult if they're older horses with some different health issues. Again, and so that is how we determine who here at the sanctuary every winter gets blankets. We look at all of our residents. We take a look at, who got a blanket last year? Chances are they're still going to need one. And when new residents come in, we observe them and we see what are their health conditions that may require them to need a blanket, because maybe they're hard keepers. What is their age? And so anyone that needs a blanket for the first time in the winter, we have been preparing for this. And a lot of our horses already have their blankets on since this storm has come through. We've got the snow and the cold. So if you were to walk around the sanctuary, you would see the horses that need a blanket, they've got them on.
That's right.
Including our two goats, our little goat coats. So, because they're little, they need their little blankets.
Yep,
So those are some of the things that we think about as far as who needs one. So the ones that need them, a lot of our older horses have them.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and you would also watch for shivering. So obviously, if their horse is shivering, they need a blanket.
Yes.
They need a
Clearly,
little bit of extra.
you'll see it, observing. Yeah.
Now, if we look at Tyler here, it's kind of not a freezing cold day. It's a little chilly to me, but it's not freezing cold out here. He's not shivering, but he's going to be our model today.
Yes,
if you
he
will.
is.
Right, Tyler?
He's such a
You're
good
such
model.
A good boy. I don't think he likes my cooler. Here, you want me to take it off?
Hold that.
Look, see? Now, with horses, now Tyler here is one of our retirees. He's not a rescue. But with rescue horses and blankets, they can be pretty scary to them. So you have to be patient and move slowly. And you can't just go around and slap blankets on your horse, even if they're used to it, right? They're flight animals. They get nervous easily. Let them smell it. Let them check it out. Want to check it out? Yeah, it's just a cooler. He says, well, why were you wearing it? This is not for you. I know, that's so silly, right? Yeah, so silly. It's okay. See? I think he's a little confused as to why I had that on me, right? I took it off.
It's like, what were you wearing?
No big deal. All gone. All gone. So, believe it or not, so let's talk briefly about the different types of blankets.
Yes, because there are so many types.
Feel it. Tell me what you think.
Very soft.
So you
and
would
not
you consider
that thick, actually.
No, it's not. Now this is actually not a blanket. People would think it is because to us it feels like a blanket. It feels like a little throw. It's made of fleece. This is actually not a blanket. It's a cooler, and people use this. It's basically, it dries the sweat basically. So if you have a really hot horse, or for some reason they're sweating or whatever. I mean, we don't work our horses here, but if you were to work your horse or ride them, you know, and do a heavy exercise with them, and they were sweating, especially in the winter, they're going to get cold. So this dries the sweat, keeps them, lets them dry faster, lets them cool off properly and let their body temperature regulate, and that's what this is used for. So even when we give horses a bath, this might help dry them off a little bit.
Yes.
So that's what this is. Even though it looks like it might keep them warm, it really doesn't add warmth to them. It's just a cooler.
Yes.
Helps them cool off after a workout or exercise, or for whatever reason, sometimes medically, they sweat more than others, and so they might need a little bit extra help to dry, and this is an absorption of all the sweat. So that's what this is. So even though it looks like a blanket, not a blanket. Then there are sheets. There are regular sheets, which go under a blanket, and then there are rain sheets, which a lot of them get in the fall and the spring. They take off their blankets and they just get a rain sheet, which really doesn't add warmth. It just protects them from the rain and the elements. You know, it's waterproof, obviously, and that goes on. But in the wintertime, and they're outside, they need, I'm laughing because Janie here is bugging Kristen.
Come here. There we go.
Why? So she says, hey, pay attention to me. What was I saying?
The waterproof.
Yes. Okay.
blankets.
So when they're outside, they need waterproof turnout blankets. It's different than a stable blanket. A stable blanket is simply to keep them warm when they're in the stable. We technically don't use them. We have no need for them here, really. So, you know, it's just mainly to keep them warm, but it is not waterproof. So if they were outside and you put a stable blanket on, guess what? It's going to get wet, and it's going to absorb all the moisture, and they are going to freeze.
Right, because
Not good.
if it's wet and then that cold comes in, you don't want that sweat and trapped, or any water trapped between their bodies and the layer of the blanket.
Right. So when you're looking for blankets, you want a waterproofed turnout blanket, and they have all different sizes and all different shapes and all different kinds and brands.
Yes.
And we will walk you through how to kind of pick and choose what you like. But the main thing is make sure that they're waterproof and that they're warm. Most horses just need a medium weight blanket for the winter, but obviously you could put a heavyweight one on if your temperature is going to drop pretty drastically. You can use a heavyweight one. Tyler's like, I don't want a blanket. Why not, Tyler? You can look handsome. Look at that face. He's like, I don't think so. I don't think so. I know. Torture. All right. So here is... He's like, I'm not getting
There's
that
some
blanket
noise going on here.
Yeah. If he doesn't want to put it on, we're not going to force it.
Nope. But we'll take you through
We
what
sure will.
a standard size blanket can look like.
Absolutely. So this is a Weather Vita. It's a very good brand. This one's pretty heavy, but I'd still say it would be considered a medium weight blanket. It has a high neck, which covers the withers. So, Mr. Tyler, can I see your withers? I might need a treat.
Coming around. I absolutely do. We always come prepared.
I know, Janie. Here, babes. You want this? Can you be my model? Are you not in the mood today? You're not in the mood? So these are the withers, okay? So the blanket is a high neck, which means it would cover his withers. Now, certain breeds of horses might need a high neck blanket. Thoroughbreds, you know, they have more prominent withers, high withers. They tend to need the high neck blankets or wither protection. So they certainly do sell blankets like that. And that's what this blanket is. It covers his wither and the shoulder area a little bit better. Now, There are also neck covers, which would go all the way up to here, that can attach to the blanket, and mainly it's just preference. It's whether or not you feel your horse needs it. How often are they outside? Do they like to be in the elements? We have a horse here that really likes to be in the elements at all times. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It's really preference as to whether or not you want to use one. It can just add a little bit of extra protection from the rain pouring down and getting inside the blanket area. But most blankets have shoulder gussets that go right here, and it gives them freedom of movement in the shoulder. When you measure for a blanket, you measure from the chest, which is here, and the measuring tape would go all the way around to the widest point of the hip to the tail. And that's how you would measure for a blanket. So whatever that measurement is, that's the size blanket you would order. Quite fun. What do you think?
Doing so good, Tyler.
Dawn
like,
has a question.
Yeah.
She says, "Who's your resident who always likes being outside?"
I believe it's I think it's Monty. Wasn't it Monty? I'm pretty sure it's Monty.
Who's out there in a blanket right
He's
now?
out there in a blanket right now as we speak, yes. He's one of the thoroughbreds, and he likes, from what I hear, he likes to be outside at all times. And some horses just do. Like my horse Lacey, she hates being in a stall. She has a shed to protect her from the elements. There's other things going around. I don't know if you can hear it, but he heard something over
You
yonder.
might have seen Wyatt in the background.
What's wrong, buddy? You're okay. You're okay. What was that noise? I love when horses do that. They're so aware of everything. You may not have heard anything. We may not have heard anything.
Right.
But they certainly did. They heard something. And Janie, too. She's like, what's going on? What is going on? And that's how they protect each other. So it's really actually an amazing, wonderful trait of horses to have. But anyway, that being said, so yes, well, let's continue talking about the blankets. So yes, they have the high weather, they have the neck, which is a preference. And then we talked about how to measure. And like I said, medium weight is pretty good. They have all different styles. See? This one's beautiful blue plaid. So how would you decide which is the front, which is the back?
Honestly, I'm trying to figure that out. There's so many buckles.
There are. Now, there are certain ways to put on a blanket. You can't just go over and slap one on.
Mm-hmm.
You let them sniff it, let them smell it. You walk to the side. Obviously, you don't come from behind or the front. That can be kind of scary. And what you would do is you would find the front, which has buckles. Sometimes they can be a seam, and if you have a shorter horse that's not so tall, you can just slip it right on over their head. I prefer the one with the buckles. I just think it's easier and better, and I don't know, I just prefer them. So this would be the front, and it would go, strap it, now hold on. You find where the wither is, and why can I not find the other buckles? There's the tail flap. That goes over the tail.
Ah, there it
Okay,
is.
protects a little extra protection from the wind, the rain, the snow. So, here we go. So this would go over the withers. Now when you put a blanket on, you cannot put it on from the back first. You have to put it on from the front. It goes from the front, then the middle buckles, then the back. Okay, there's a reason for this. Horses are flight animals, so what's going to happen if they happen to spook at something, just like you saw Tyler do? What's going to happen? Most likely they're going to run. Are they going to run backwards? Probably not. They're going to run forwards. Their propulsion is forward. So when you put a blanket on, you do the front first, because that way if they happen to spook and run, the blanket's not going to flop all over the place and scare them even more. If you did the back straps first or the belly straps first, and they happen to spook, the blanket would be flapping around all over the place and would probably feel like, something uncomfortable under there, like a bucking buckle or something.
Yeah, and it would scare them more.
even more. So you don't want that. Okay, so you always put a blanket on front, middle, tail. Okay, when you take it off, it's opposite. Back, middle, front.
For the same reason.
For the same reason. Exactly. Because if they spook, at least that front will be buckled and it won't flop around as much as it would otherwise.
Yep.
So that's the reason behind that. And I don't think Mr. Tyler here is going to let us put on the blanket, which is fine. He's not in the mood. Doesn't want to. Fine
But
with
we can
us.
still show it off from
Yep.
this way, as you said. So there's the front.
And we will certainly show you how to do it too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what you would do is you would, like I said, you would gently put it over their back. And would you stand in front? No. You stand to the side. You hook the front buckles like so. Mr. Tyler, you're not going to be a model today? Says nope, not a chance. All right. Hold on, Janie. Now, another important aspect to blanketing. When you put the blanket on, you really want to make sure that it's not too loose and it's not too tight.
Absolutely.
Now, the reason for this is because, as you know, with shoes that fit uncomfortably, right? Too tight, they rub, they hurt. Too loose, they rub, they hurt, right? So it can create sore spots. You don't want that. You want to make sure your buckles... Miss Jamie. You want to make sure your buckles are correct and that they are tucked in. All the straps are tucked in and not loose. What's wrong, Janie? All right, so then he would be buckled, right?
Yep.
So then you would reach under the belly and you see straps, lots of straps, right? You grab this. These are surgical straps. They do have belly wraps, which are also kind of nice. These will protect if they decide to roll, right? So they need belly straps in case they roll or run or play or whatever. And they also have different durabilities too. They have some for rough play, some for horses that play just a little, and some for horses that don't play at all.
Just stand around.
And some horses like to destroy the blankets.
Ooh,
Not good. So this surgical strap would go crisscross. So this goes up to here. Whoop. Tyler, this would be a lot easier if you let me put the phone in. All right, let's see. Like this, goes in. I promise you I do know how to do this. There we go. And then you'd grab this one, it would cross under. And again, you want to make sure these straps under the belly are not too loose.
Yeah.
The reason for that is you don't want them really close, like tight to the belly, obviously. But you don't want them hanging loose either, because how do horses itch? With their back feet. If they bring their back foot up and their foot gets stuck in there, not good. So we have to be very careful with the straps. So they are adjustable. They have buckles here. You can adjust it, make it tighter or looser. And then you move to the back. All right, now this is a tail flap. Some of them just have this little, I forgot what you call it, attachment from here to here that goes under the tail. You can do that. But if you have a really playful horse, you have leg straps. So you would go get close and personal around the leg, and it would go around their back leg, and then it would hook this hook here.
Oop, there you go.
Like this. And then this one would go same thing around the leg, but it would crisscross and intertwine with the other one, and voila. That's how it would look.
You see that crisscross
And
there?
again, you have to adjust everything and readjust as time goes on, because sometimes they get loose, and you want to make sure that your horse isn't getting caught. You don't want their legs getting caught. You don't want them getting caught in anything. You don't want the blanket rolling around on their body while they're playing. It needs to be fit snugly, but not too snugly.
Yes.
So that is that and that.
Kind of show. So when it's on, it would hang. And then that's what the crisscross sections look at the bottom. So it would be underneath.
That's right. And as you can see, there's a lot of room in here. And it's waterproof, so believe it or not, it does keep them dry and keeps them
Absolutely.
warm and toasty. And this is perfect for playing. It's got good durability. And like I said, Weatherby does a pretty good brand. So that is the basic 101 of horse blanketing. So, here's a test. How would you take it off? Would you start from the front or would you start from the back?
Over here.
Yes. Alex is right. Start from the back. So you unhook those little straps. I think Tyler's trying to figure out what in the world we are doing.
What is this thing?
It's like, you guys are crazy.
So we take this, and it was a cross section, so we just take that out.
Yep. Now again, when you're doing this on the horse, you're not standing directly behind him
Right, of
or her.
course.
You're standing to the side.
So there we go. So that would be,
Yep,
so now the straps are hanging down because they've been unhooked.
that's right. And you just unhook the middle, the belly. One, and then two. And these do not rub on the horse at all either. You shouldn't.
So then again, we have the straps hanging down.
Yep.
And all that is hooked right now are the buckles in the front.
Yep. Then you unbuckle the front, and they are good to go. And that is how we keep our horses warm and dry.
We
with
do.
blankets.
And so we have quite a number of these because it's a lot of our standard sized horses that have these. But again, there are many different types of blankets and they come in so many different sizes. So to show off the difference, some of our minis do also get blankets as well. And so just to show you, I mean, I'm sure it's easy to imagine the size comparison, but this is the size
I should probably hold this up again.
of one of our blankets that we would put on one of our minis. So there we go. But the
Big size
mechanics are basically the same.
That's right.
You'd have the buckles on the front, and then you have the middle right here. Just go under the belly, and then the little tail flap right there.
That's right.
Little tail flap. And then, so Michelle was mentioning the one hook that kind of goes underneath the tail. That's what this has. So this has the one buckle, tail flapped, and then that goes underneath to keep that in. And there are differences between blankets that are for mini horses and ponies. It just comes to the fact that they're just different sizes. And blankets can even come larger than the one we demonstrated that we would put on a horse like Tyler's size. They can come for draft horses. So they come in all kinds of sizes. For the largest of horses that get cold to the smallest. And so that's right. Those are some of our different ones. They're so cute in their little coats in the wintertime.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And the procedure's the same because, again, even though they're minis, they can still spook. They're just little.
Just little.
They're just little.
So you would start from the front and go to the back.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So that's basically it. That's all we have for you today. We're here again with Tyler in the back.
And Janie.
And Janie. Say hi, Janie.
Hello. So these are all things that we continue to think about throughout the entire winter season. As Michelle mentioned, it's not just you put the blanket on the horse and call it a day.
Yep.
You'll have to check on them because if they're playing around, the jacket can loosen. If you have high precipitation come in, that is also some wear and tear, on the blanket if the horses are outside, out of their stalls. So we're constantly checking on them, tightening or loosening or taking them off if we need to replace the blanket on them because it just got a little too dirty.
Right.
All these things our workers here continuously check on the horses that wear the blankets.
And for the horses that are a little rougher with clay, they can tend to tatter their blankets and tear their
Yes.
blankets. So you always check for tears and things like that. Obviously, if it has a tear, it's not going to keep them warm. It's going to let moisture in.
The whole point
Not
is to
good.
keep it out.
Right. So if you see anything that needs repairs, sometimes you can repair it. You can find someone who can repair these blankets and wash them for you if you don't want to put them in your washer, which is totally understandable. But the key is to, after you wash them, make sure they're waterproofed. You don't want to lose that. Usually that's a once a year thing. You want to either buy a new blanket or make sure it's waterproofed. So, yeah.
Yeah, but that was pretty much cover the basics of blanketing. I mean, there are so many different elements, and it comes down to if this is something that you are doing with your own horse, of knowing your horse and doing that research for what is the best option for them based on their personality and play type. Are they an indoor horse? Well, indoor, but
Yeah.
install horse or an outdoor. What do they prefer? What are their preferences? What's their size? What's their age?
Yep, exactly. How active are they? Are they in a pasture all the time with a shed, or are they mainly in the barn? Like, those are all things to consider. So, yeah, it's just about knowing your horse. Ask. Always ask if you don't know something. That's how you learn, right? So, yeah. our horses today, I think they're enjoying just the nice, mild winter weather today.
Relaxing, yes. It is a little bit warmer today.